So again, thanks everybody for showing up. And I'll just mention, if you guys have questions throughout the presentation here, this should take maybe upwards of 20, 25 minutes to actually go through the slideshow. But as I present, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat box that you can, if you have anything throughout the presentation, we'll try to answer, hopefully answer some or most of them during the presentation, but at the very end, we're going to open it up and have just a basic Q&A question and answer with a couple of the installers that are on the call as well. So I'll introduce them towards the end here and let them just kind of give a brief introduction of who they are and just a little bit about their company. So yeah, we, getting started with Solarize Fredericksburg. Here, if you guys haven't already been on the website, the link is here. So feel free to jot that down, or we'll share the slides by tomorrow with everybody, hopefully on the call today. And basically it's solarizeva.org and /Solarize Fredericksburg. And that'll be where you get all the information about the campaign. And then also, if you're interested, go ahead and signing up on there. So we'll kind of talk about that throughout the campaign or throughout the presentation here. All right. So just to speak a little bit about who I work for and what is LEAP is really the question. It basically stands for the Local Energy Alliance Program. We usually call ourselves LEAP for short, just easier to say, and actually a lot of people recognize that a lot more than the full name. So we are based in Charlottesville, Virginia. We got started back in 2009, 2010, with the real idea behind the nonprofit is to help residents and even small business owners make their buildings more energy efficient. So different technologies, whether it's newer appliances or insulation, different things like that, to really give recommendations and also help out some through various utility programs that we get some funding from. And then, around 2013, we got started with our first Solarize program. We saw a lot of interested folks about renewable coming to us about solar and other renewable technologies. So we put our first Solarize Charlottesville on in 2013. And actually to date, that's our most successful campaign. We had over 100 homes go solar in that year. I think last year we got close to that, but not quite, reaching that total amount. I do want to just point out this, this photo of this house in Charlottesville. This is actually our headquarters. So back around 2009, it was actually taken down to the studs and rebuilt with all different, energy efficient modifications. So if you're ever in Charlottesville, maybe not, the next couple months, but in the future, we usually do take visitors as long as somebody's there just to show them around. We'll walk around. There's plaques on the wall telling you what's located in different places. Sometimes there's some plastic plexiglass so you can actually see into the wall, look at the different types of insulation. And there's actually a small solar array on the back end too, which I keep meaning to try to get a photo, but I'm actually located in our satellite office up in the Fairfax area of Virginia. So I'm the one guy in Northern Virginia right now. Hopefully I'll get a photo of that solar system. It's the backside is a hill, so it's a little hard to see from the ground. So that's why it's a little difficult. So just, kind of wanted to show the logos of all our partners with putting this webinar on and really helping support the whole Solarize Fredericksburg campaign this year. So I do want to thank everybody that's part of, that are part of all these organizations, really helping with the outreach and getting the word out about Solarize Fredericksburg. So we really rely on partners and even, city or town or county partners as well with some of the other Solarize programs we put on. It really helps get the word out and kind of what we would say kind of our marketing arm of the campaign. And so, what is Solarize Fredericksburg? Basically, we're trying to create a one-stop shop for home owners or small business owners that are really interested in putting solar on their buildings or their homes. We're trying to make it so that they can come to us, learn about solar, whether it's right for their property or not. And then we are putting on this limited time campaign where we go out through a competitive bidding process with regional solar contractors and coming up with a discounted price. So this just kind of mention, I try to include a photo on every page. This is just inside of that house you saw on the previous page. It's, what would be considered the living room of the house, but it's actually when we don't have big presentations like the photo here, we have a big meeting table there. And so we do most of our meetings right in that room there. So, you know, the real question is why sign up for Solarize versus going out on your own to the market? Really, we're trying to go through this whole competitive bidding process so that you don't have to. So more or less, we like to say it's a good deal for everybody involved, for the home or business owner, obviously, because we're trying to get a discounted or more or less a bulk discount price because we're going to be bringing a lot of interested folks over to the participating solar installer. And, you know, it helps us out because we're really just trying to get out there into the community. We are a nonprofit, so we're trying to get out there and help people, whether it's reduce their energy usage with energy audits or assessments, things like that, and then helping them start to produce their energy with a Solarize program. And then, you know, also a win for the solar installer that's the participant, because they're going to be getting a lot of interested folks so that they don't have to spend the money on the marketing. And so that's why they're able to reduce the costs to the homeowner through the program. So we're trying to create a turnkey or what we would say a standardized package for homeowners or business owners. So we're going to do the vetting of the contractor, whether it's, you know, experience, certifications that we require, different warranties from the contractor and the equipment, and then just, you know, also scoring the equipment they're proposing to be part of the program. So we're trying to do all this up front so that the homeowner doesn't necessarily have to go out there and do all this homework. We're trying to do that for you to save you time and you know, less hassle as well. And then just trying to touch on a little bit of the results that we've had. So like I mentioned, we did our first campaign in 2013, and then we expanded up to Northern Virginia, end of 2014. Really, 2015 was our first full campaign up here in Northern Virginia. And then we've also done a couple Fredericksburg ones back, I think it was 2015, 2016. So we had a lot of, you know, interested demand again, Fredericksburg. So we really wanted to go ahead and put on another campaign this year. So since the beginning of this year in 2020, we've had over 400 contracts throughout all of our Solarize programs, and equaling over 4 megawatts of solar capacity, which has generated contract values of close to $10 million. And again, that's a real big win for the local economy because we're trying to use more or less regional installation companies as well. So again, try to say it's a win-win-win for everybody involved. And then, you know, who can sign up? Obviously, Fredericksburg residents and the surrounding areas, is what we like to say. If you ever have any questions on, you know, am I considered in the Fredericksburg area or not, feel free to contact us. You can go to the website. There's going to be a contact page. There's a email listed on there, as well as on this slide here. It's just info@solarizeva.org. So you can always email us, but, you know, as long as you're within the Fredericksburg area, you know, we definitely want to try to help you go solar. And so, yeah, feel free to sign up, and we'll talk about, you know, how to sign up here. So, you know, how to sign up or how it works in general. We've kind of seen over the, you know, the last about 6 or 7 years that we've been doing Solarize. We've kind of streamlined it over the last year or so, really trying to make it much more easy for a homeowner just to sign up on a web page without really going through any other real big hoops or anything like that. So all you really have to do is go to the website. So it's solarizeva.org, and that's the general web page. You're going to go on the top menu item, and it's going to say get started, and you'll find Fredericksburg. And so you can just click on Fredericksburg. It's going to have a sign up button. You just click sign up, and it's going to have a form right on that page. And what we're really just asking for is your basic contact information. So, you know, your full name, telephone number, email address, so that we can get in contact with you, the address of the property you're looking to go solar with, and then a couple questions we ask about that property. So mostly the questions are, what type of roof do you have and how old it is? We definitely understand that a lot of people may have, you know, recently moved in, or they moved in and the roof was already there. You know, it wasn't a brand new house, so you might not know exact age. Don't worry about that. You know, there's definitely an option that you say, you know, I'm not too sure. So we're really mostly looking for contact information and the property address so that we can get started. There is going to be at the very bottom a questions / kind of concerns box. So if you have any questions specifically when you sign up, or if you have concerns saying, you know, I have a metal roof, for example, or maybe, you know, you've had a couple trees taken down within the last month, so maybe a satellite image might not show that. go ahead and feel free to put any kind of questions or concerns in that box, and we'll try to address it for you. So once you get signed up, it's pretty easy. You just go to that website, sign up right there, saying you're interested. We'll be in contact within a few business days. So I know we got a lot of signups last week, and we should have reached out to everybody that signed up at least through the weekend. So if you signed up tomorrow or yesterday, we'll probably be in touch tomorrow. So I just want to make sure in case some people have signed up and they're just waiting. But once you sign up, we're going to reach out to you within a few days, and we're going to let you know what we see through the satellite images. So we're going to take a look at a few different mapping programs, Google Maps being the biggest one that's known out there. There are a few other ones that we use in case Google doesn't perform well. So we're going to take a look, just looking at the property, the address that you fill out. We're looking at anything that might concern or create problems with a solar system being installed. So whether it's shading from tree canopy nearby, or maybe a large buildings right next to your house might cast some shade upon the roof, for example. So we're going to be taking a look at different images to try to tell if solar is going to be good for you or not. We will email you as soon as we find that out, and we'll let you know, hey, solar is great. The next step is collecting a copy of an electric bill. And the reason we're collecting that is to get the kilowatt hours that you use on a month-by-month basis for up to a year. And again, understand some people just moved in, so they might have a few months on that bill, but don't worry, just send what you do have. And then that way we can get started. Once we collect that electric bill, we'll let you know, hey, thank you for sending that forward. And now the solar installer is going to be contacting you to basically take it from here and start a discussion on what your options might be, and get you a proposal based on the footprint of your house and the footprint of your energy usage. Because we want to make sure that they're not going to oversize the system to continually to overproduce electricity for you, or your roof space might be the limitation usually. In the circumstance where we look at some of that satellite imagery, and for instance you do have a lot of trees around the house and it's shading the roof space, I'll come back and email you saying, hey, unfortunately it looks like solar might not be a great option for you because of shading, or because of roof obstructions, or maybe your roof has a lot of dormers, so there's not going to be any space to install panels, for example. So different things like that. I'll try to let you know what I see, and I'll include a screenshot of the image that I'm looking at. And I'll just say, hey, does this look up to date? Because a lot of times these satellite images may be a year, 2 years old, or more at times. So there may be, I've had situations where people tell me, actually, I have a rebuild on that property, and the one I'm looking at is the old house. So feel free to let me know if anything has been updated since that image. But once you sign up, we'll take a look at all that and be in touch. I just want to include this diagram to show you what I'm kind of looking at, or what's in the back of my mind when I'm looking at some of that imagery. This is just showing, the sun path in the summer versus the winter. You'll notice the north is to the left, south is to the right, so it's turned a little bit counterclockwise there. Mainly so that you can see the path of the sun. Obviously in the summer, the sun's going to be out higher in the sky for a longer amount of time. And vice versa, in the winter time, it's going to be lower in the sky for a shorter amount of time. So when we're talking about solar systems, payback, all this kind of stuff, we really want to look at the entire year of production or of the path of the sun, because you might say you have some trees, a tree line that's kind of farther away from the house that might not be shading the roof during the summertime because the sun's higher in the sky, but it might actually shade it in the wintertime, even without leaves on the trees. The branches and everything like that's still going to create some shading concerns. So I just want to include this diagram, just kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking for. And you can see, the house in the diagram, the roof is, facing north and south. So the best place or most ideal place to place a solar array is on a south facing roof. But don't worry, east and west do work. An east and west facing, or, a little bit off center of south will work as well. We're just really trying to stay away from the north facing roof, because since we live in the northern hemisphere, though it may look like sun's hitting it, it's not going to be actual direct sunlight, which a solar module or panel is going to need. So. And then just talking a little bit about the basics of a solar system in general. So you'll see this photo here is just an example of a photovoltaic module or a solar panel. And so you can see that it may look a little bit different than what you might have seen years ago on a roof or in a picture or something like that. They have gotten a lot more sleeker, in my opinion, over the last decade or so. So the panels or the modules, you kind of hear that interchangeably, is going to be the main piece of equipment that everybody sees. However, there are other options or other pieces of equipment that really complete the system. The other piece is an inverter, which I'll talk about here in a second. And then, connecting everything with cables, having a meter, safety switches, things like that kind of is what we call the balance of system, or just pretty much everything outside of the actual panels. The panel or the installation itself of the entire system generally doesn't take that long. I list here 1 to 4 days. It's going to really depend on the size of the system, the complication, and the setup of the roof, different things like that. But generally, it doesn't take all that long to actually install the system. What takes the longest usually is going through the entire, contracting to design to permitting to interconnection with the utility grid. So here we say, 6 to 12 weeks for that. It really just kind of depends on the locality and how busy the permit office is sometimes, things like that. So it does take a little bit of time to get everything going before you actually get the install going. I will mention here just a couple bullet points. Mainly the one I want to point out is the productive life here of a solar panel is what I say is 25 years plus. The reason I say that is that's one of the guarantees that are associated with all solar panels, is that it's gonna, from day 1 to year 25, the production or the output of electricity for the panel has a guarantee that it's not gonna go through below a minimum, a certain threshold. Just like any real major technology, if you sit it out in the sun, the UV rays are going to be hitting it. It will degrade over time. And so one of these, besides the product warranty, this production guarantee really kind of gives you that kind of that security that that it's still going to be producing a certain amount of power in 25 years. And I kind of emphasize the plus sign because that's just the guarantee. But the panel is going to outlast that guarantee most likely. And there's systems out there, older technology, but systems out there that are still cranking power out, from years ago. And so just, kind of giving some example photos here. These are examples. So, different types of roofs you see here. Got the metal seam, which you're not actually going to penetrate into the roof. They're going to actually more or less clip onto the seams there versus your typical shingled roof. There is going to be some penetrations, but I always get the question, is my roof going to leak because of that? I will say out of the, 400 plus systems that we've helped install, I don't think, at least I personally have not heard of any roof leaking. Not to say it won't, but that's a pretty good percentage there, I'd say. And that's something, if for some reason if it was going to leak, it'll leak in the first big rainstorm. That's when you'll notice it. And since it'll happen so quickly, it'll be something that'll be covered under a warranty. But once you get all the mounting or racking hardware, kind of interchangeable terms there, put in place, again, it doesn't take too much longer to go ahead and install the panels on top of that hardware. And then, so I did want to, just have a separate page on what we would call the inverter. So besides the panels, the inverter is really the other large piece of equipment in the entire system. And so what the inverter does, the panels or the array is going to generate direct or DC current electricity, but a house or a building is going to use AC or alternating current electricity. So we're going to have to convert or invert that DC to AC, and that's what this piece of equipment is going to do for you. And there's a couple options out there, and you can see these are just example photos out there to show you. But the far upper left one here is what we would call a string inverter, versus the ones on the bottom are microinverters. And so the difference is a string inverter is going to be all the solar panels are going to be tied together or strung together and going into that inverter, and it's going to convert into AC electricity for you. Versus the microinverters are going to actually be placed on each panel, and so it's going to be converted right at the panel level, and then run down into your house. The difference here, or the, I kind of give an example of why you might use one over the other, is say you have a direct south facing roof space with zero, shading concerns, the sun's hitting it all day. A string inverter might work best for you there, because you're not going to have any shading that might cover one panel, or for example. Where the micro inverters come into play is, say you do have a tree out front. It's shading one panel in the morning, but that shade continually, moves across the roof, covering the next panel and then the next one. That might be a great opportunity for a microinverter, because since it's going to be inverting the electricity at the panel level, if you have one panel covered, it's not going to bring down the overall production of the entire array. Where the string inverter, if you had one panel covered with some shade, it may bring down the overall production of the entire system. I will say, relying on the solar installer to give the best recommendation here is my suggestion, just because they really know, and when they do, for example, a shade analysis, or they're taking a look at what's surrounding the house, they'll have the best idea of what is going to work great for your situation. So it is going to be a case by case which one they might suggest, just really depending on each house or each building. And then this diagram is just really putting all the whole system together, kind of giving you or showing you more or less the path of electricity. So you got the sun shining down on the photovoltaic array, or the solar panels there. It's going to knock off electrons, creating some electricity current. It's going to go through the inverter, changing that DC current to AC current. And then there's going to be a safety switch. Just in case the grid goes down, your system will go down, unless you have a battery backup to pull from. So I know a lot of people will ask, if it's a sunny day out, the electricity grid goes down, am I going to lose power even though I have a solar system? Unfortunately, or fortunately, you can think of it two different ways, but your system is going to go down unless you have a backup battery system. And the reason for that is more or less for safety. And that's why there's a disconnect switch here. So they don't want the electricity, or the utility grid does not want you to be feeding the grid by accident when the grid goes down, because there's going to be workers working on it to try to get it back up, and they don't want any electricity feeding the grid. So, that's just a safety concern. But then, once you go past that disconnect, it's going to go straight into the main panel. If you're using electricity right then and there, simply it's going to go to wherever you're using electricity. But for instance, if you're not home, you're not using a whole lot of electricity, it's going to go back through the utility meter and back onto the grid. And that just goes right into the next slide. So all the systems are going to be set up with what's called net metering. And so this is really a more or less a billing agreement with the utility grid, where I try to simply put it is, you're only going to pay for the net energy you pull from the utility grid. So in this diagram, this is actually taken directly from Dominion Energy, their website. This solar system in this diagram is generating 1,100 kilowatt hours. However, the house at the time is only using 1,000 kilowatt hours. So you do have that extra 100 kilowatt hours. And so that extra 100 kilowatt hours is going to go through the utility grid back onto the actual electric grid, utility meter onto the utility grid. And you're going to get a credit for that. So you're not losing that electricity. However, also you're not getting cash for that electricity, but you're going to get credit. So you're going to be able to pull from the grid, whether it's, later that day, that evening, the next day, later in the year, for example. You're going to be able to pull that extra 100 kilowatt hours at a later time without having to pay for it. So again, you're only going to pay for the net electricity you pull from the grid. And I always, say this is a great setup in Virginia. Some other states, they will pay you cash for that extra, overproduction. But that kind of creates some other situations, because it's income, so it'll be taxable income, et cetera. Here, you don't have to worry about that, and more or less you're using the utility grid as a backup, just in case you don't have a battery storage or anything like that on hand. And then this slide, I won't pause too long on this, going through each number, but these are the prices associated with the campaign this year. They are all listed on the solarizeva.org website. So you can take a look on there at a later time, but you will see that it's broken down in a few different categories here. We got roof mount versus ground mount. Obviously, ground mount's going to be a little more expensive just due to the labor and everything involved in creating that ground mount. And then besides that, the larger the system you get, the more discount you get. And then going down on the left-hand side here, we got what we just list as a standard panel versus with a microinverter, and then a US panel and a US panel with a microinverter. So every time we put out a proposal for a Solarize campaign, we make sure that the installer is going to include what we call a standard panel, and then also a US made panel, or what we would say a Buy America compliant panel. And so you'll see it's a little bit more of a premium for the US panel, but honestly, it's really, it's about 5 cents more per watt. Maybe 5 years ago when we were doing this, it was probably 15–20% or 20 cents more per watt. So it's definitely gotten more competitive. And I will mention this is a per watt price. So say you have a 6 kilowatt system, it's going to be $2.59 times 6,000 would be the total installation cost. So just kind of giving you an example. And then the tax credits. So in Virginia, there's no state incentives. However, there is a federal tax credit or incentive of 26%. So that's going to be 26% of the total installation cost of the solar system. It is a credit, not a rebate. So you do owe the federal government tax before you can credit that back. However, I will mention next year it's going down to 22%, and then currently set to expire starting in 2022 for residential properties. So, it's best to install this year, second best next year, and then, starting 2022, unless Congress wants to do something about it, it is set to expire. So it's a great time to go solar with that pretty big incentive there. I will also mention, because I'll probably get a question later about it, is that if you do need a new roof in order to put solar on, because we don't want to put solar on old roofs because you're going to have to take them off and re-roof eventually, you can claim part of the roof cost in that federal tax credit. So I will say, I'm not a tax advisor and can't really give tax advice, but if you have any real tax questions about that, I will advise you to go ahead and speak to a tax, advisor or consultant to get more clarification on it. The rule of thumb in the industry is that as long as the roof is covered with panels, you can, take that part of the roof and include that in that credit. So if you're only covering, 50% of the roof, you can probably most likely claim 50% of that roof cost in that federal tax credit. And then just talk, some basic two system examples here, more or less, because these are, 6 kilowatt is kind of an average size system. And then a 12 kilowatt system is more a larger one that's in that, more less expensive tier. So I just wanted to include some high level numbers here. Just going to go through the 6 kilowatt one real quick. You can see the total installation cost before the tax credit is going to be $15,540. But then, if you're able to claim that full 26% of the tax credit, it'll bump it all the way down to $11,500. And then the third line item here is, we label as annual kilowatt hours produced in the first year. So this is how much energy or electricity it's going to generate for you in the first year. It is an estimate, obviously. It's going to depend on the weather and if it's a cloudy day, a rainy day, you're going to generate more or less. They are pretty good at estimating nowadays, just because we've had years of weather data in different regions of the country. So we actually pull this number from a government calculator that was created called PV watts. So that stands for photovoltaic. And so if you just want to Google search PV watts, you can, it's going to be the first thing that really shows up on Google. Click on that, and it just kind of asks some basic information, your address and the size system you think you might be able to put on your roof, and it'll generate a month by month kilowatt hour production for you. So you can kind of get an idea of how much a system is going to generate in a year. And then the last line item here, we label it as average monthly PV income in the first year. And I definitely put income in quotes because, again, you're not directly getting cash, but that's more or less the cost of the electricity you're generating with your solar system. So in a monthly average in the first year is going to be a $73 worth of electricity. And again, it's going to go up and down depending on the month, but that is the average throughout the year. And then all those numbers obviously increase some with a larger system or decrease with a smaller system. And then I do want to mention, I'm not staying too long on this slide, but we do ask the solar installer to offer EV or electric vehicle chargers. And so these are going to be level 2 chargers. So it's going to be more power than your typical wall outlet. For example, a 220 volt instead of just your 120 volt outlet. So it's going to charge an electric vehicle faster than just plugging into your typical outlet. So we do include prices in the program for EV chargers from the installer. It's going to be, they offer 2 price points. One is going to be if you do it along with a solar system, it's going to be cheaper because they're already in the electrical system working on it. So it doesn't take all that much more to install the EV charger versus just the charger alone. We can still do it, but it is going to be a little bit more expensive without going solar. But we can definitely help you out, and we like to see more electric vehicles on the road, and it pairs really well with solar because you can pretty much generate, especially if you're charging during the day, you can literally charge it with the sun, or if you charge at night, depending on the net metering, how many credits you have, you can more or less charge it with the sun. And then just talking about some warranties here. So all the participants through the program are going to receive a 10-year workmanship warranty from the actual solar installer. And then each piece of equipment is going to come with their own product warranties. So panels, there's a couple options out there, but the minimum is going to be a 15-year product warranty from the manufacturer. And then kind of talking about that before, but the 25-year performance guarantee or production guarantee. So making sure from day 1 to year 25, it's not going to degrade past a certain amount. And usually that threshold is 80%. So from day 1 to year 25, you're still going to be generating at least 80% production after 25 years. And then the inverters, there's a 10-year manufacturer warranty on the string inverter, and then a 25-year product warranty on the micro inverter. And then the mounting hardware is going to be 20 years. And then the EV charger, the main one is going to be a 3-year product warranty. And then the installer can speak to you. They might have a couple other options as well. And then just kind of finishing up here, the last few slides. This, I just always like to include, this was one of our partners in Northern Virginia. He was nice enough to just include a couple pictures and some data points for us. He installed a system back in 2015 when we did our first campaign up here. So he did a 4.5 kilowatt system, and you can see the panels up at the top of the house there. And you can probably see, he had some space left over where he could have installed more panels or a larger system in general. But at the time, I think his kids were leaving for college, so he didn't really have to worry about generating all that much electricity going forward. And so he went ahead and just installed a 4.5 kilowatt system. And you can see here it generated just over 65 kilowatt hours of production in the first year, and basically generated $720 worth of electricity for him. And then just the next page, he was nice to go ahead and offer the month-by-month production numbers. So these are the kilowatt hours for each month that he's had the system over the last few years back then. And you can see the ups and downs or ebbs and flows of the production numbers, and that really just kind of goes along with the summer versus winter path of the sun. And so you can see the higher production numbers are going to be in the summer months, the lower ones in the winter months. I do notice, and he always points it out to me, the first purple bar you see here in the summer, I think it was a June, a little bit lower than the surrounding months, and that was mostly, he always mentions when we show this presentation that month was a very, very rainy month for a June, because you can see in the other summer months it wasn't quite as low. So just kind of want to point that little tidbit out. And then every solar system, you are going to be able to monitor it through a monitoring system. This is a screenshot taken from a Solar Edge monitoring system. Solar Edge is an inverter company, so this is just one brand. They're all going to be fairly similar in the data they provide, but look a little bit different brand or company by company. But this is a way to keep an eye on your system, seeing how much it produces daily, yearly, monthly, different things like that. So you can really see the benefit personally and firsthand of what your solar system is doing. And this is also a good way to see, if all of a sudden you have a huge drop in production, there might be something wrong, or maybe a connection with the monitoring system itself. The solar installer also has capability to look at this as well, so that way they can try to do some troubleshooting for you before, if they have to come out to do an actual site visit. So great conversation piece. A lot of the brands also have phone apps, so you can look at it on your phone. you know, kind of seeing how it's producing even if you're not home. So again, a great way to monitor your system without actually being there. And so I just want to pause here just for a second. This is the installer for the campaign this year. So again, we go through a competitive bidding process. We put a request for proposal out to the public for any solar installer in the region to respond to. There's, you know, a couple weeks they have to respond. We go through a scoring process, making sure, you know, doing some vetting of the company and everything like that. And this year, Affordable Energy Concepts, or AEC, got, you know, awarded Solarize Fredericksburg for this year. So I do believe we have a couple guys from AEC on the line. So I just wanted to pause here, see if they can take a second, introduce themselves, and just kind of introduce their company a little bit.
Hello, my name is Alex Haney. I'm the Senior Project Manager for Affordable Energy Concepts. I'll give you a little bit about the company, and then there's two others here on the call. Affordable Energy Concepts has been around doing business since 2010. So we've got over 10 years of experience with residential solar. We've done solar for schools, for commercial buildings, utility scale projects. We know all types of solar systems. And so we've been doing this for 10 years. We pride ourselves on quality, and I'll mention the name Affordable Energy Concepts. We say affordable doesn't mean that we're the cheapest out there, but there's nothing affordable about solar unless it has good quality components that can last for the warranty period of 25 years and beyond that. So we really want to make sure we're putting in good quality components to make sure your system will work for a long time. We've got Harold, our salesman here, and Zach Campbell also on the call. I'll let Harold say hi.
Hello, everybody. One of the things I just wanted to emphasize, Ryan's going to go through these questions with you in a minute and see if we can't give you some good answers. But one of the real advantages to the way that Solarize Fredericksburg has been put together is because we'll be talking to multiple people over this period of time. If you have a question about batteries or roofing or something that isn't addressed tonight, be sure to reach out to us because we're going to be in the area. It's not going to be a great burden to come by, look at what you're dealing with, answer those questions. And a lot of this stuff is a case-by-case scenario. So because we'll be having so much activity in the Fredericksburg area during the duration of this campaign, this is the time to get those questions answered. We're there anyway, as opposed to making a special trip just to talk to one person.
And Zach, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi. As Alex mentioned, my name's Zach Campbell. I'm an assistant project manager at Affordable Energy Concepts. And we're really excited to be working with the Fredericksburg area and Solarize LEAP campaign. It's a great opportunity for homeowners to take advantage of, you know, a volume of flow that reduces the cost overall. So appreciate talking to you guys.
Great, thanks. I really appreciate you guys just, you know, introducing yourselves. And I'm just going to switch to the last slide here just to kind of leave up for a second. Again, you know, this is if you're interested already, or if you know, already signed up, great. If not, you can go to the website here. It's just solarizeva.org, and you'll just look for the Fredericksburg tab to you know, sign up on there. The contact email is info@solarizeva.org. So you can always email us if you have any questions as well. And we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can with any kind of answers that we can find for you. I will mention, because I actually don't believe I've mentioned so far, is the actual date of the campaign, or how long it's running. So it's actually running currently all the way through October 2nd. And so I do always want to emphasize the October 2nd date isn't necessarily that you don't necessarily have to sign a contract with the installer by October 2nd. October 2nd just means you have to sign up on our website showing interest in going through and potentially just getting a proposal from the contractor. I do always want to emphasize that, because as that date gets a little bit closer, some people that haven't signed up, you know, will call and email us, you know, just making sure, or if we haven't reached out to them in time, making sure that they are good to go. So as long as you sign up on the website by October 2nd, you are good to go. So I did want to mention that. So now I'm going to go ahead and take off the screen share here. And then we're just going to open it up for questions. I know Gerald was probably taking notes of questions that people might have been entering in the chat box, and he might already had some to start with. But I am going to answer anything that's really program related as much as possible. But then I'm really going to, allow the guys at AEC to really kind of get some FaceTime with potential customers and really answer as many questions as they can, just to, kind of get their expertise out there for you guys.
Well, first, before we get to the questions, we have Ann Little here who has participated in the program previously, and we'd like to get her insight as far as what her experience has been with this program, and so you guys can all have a little bit more confidence in what's going to happen. Ann?
Thanks, Gerald. Hi, everyone. This is our third solar campaign that we've done with the Clean and Green Commission and CLEAR. We signed up in 2015 at our house. We put 4 kilowatts of panels on our roof. We have a lot of shade around our roof. We love trees, but we knew that it was going to be not as effective with the trees, but we get 30% savings on our energy use. And the other thing is the price has dropped considerably since we signed up. It was really it's almost $2,000 less this time than it was for us to sign up. If anybody's interested in taking a look at our solar panels, you're welcome to come over. My husband has the little gizmo on his phone, and he'll talk to you for hours about it if you want, or 5 minutes if you prefer. We also have a friend that lives on Sylvania that they put 15 panels on, and then they added another 15 panels. They're completely off the grid now. They put some of their panels on a gazebo type area. We have a flat roof, have never had a leak. The only problem we've had with our solar panels is a great big piece of wood out of the tree fell over and broke one of the panels. They came in and fixed it immediately, and it's been going ever since. So we're real pleased with this, and we're running our Tesla on that as well now. So the other thing that hasn't been mentioned is there's also the possibility of an energy audit to check your house to see how energy efficient. They caught a lot of things on our house that were problems, and that was also another way for us to be really good at saving energy. Ryan, you might want to mention that.
Yes, thanks for the reminder. It always slips by sometimes. So I just, since Ann mentioned it, since obviously we got started with energy efficiency, it's our bread and butter over at LEAP. If you are ever interested, and we always suggest to get an energy assessment at least, we can come over, do a walk through the house, take a look top to bottom, whether it's the attic space, basement, crawl space, different things like that, to really give you recommendations on ways to improve or reduce your energy usage, make the house more efficient. And so I like to say, it's a great idea to reduce your energy, and then with solar to start producing your energy. So as Ann mentioned, having an assessment done, having whether it's myself or one of my colleagues come over and actually do a walkthrough of the house, can give you some really big, whether it's little or big recommendations overall, just to reduce your energy usage. So that's something we can definitely help you out with. And as you sign up, if you're interested in one of those, you can feel free to mention that in that question/concerns box. And I can always, get you in contact with our client relations manager, and she can schedule something for you. So thanks again for reminding me about that one.
Right. So let's see. I have some questions here that were emailed to me a while back, and I want to get to those first. Thea Burdak, who's one of our food co-op members, wants to know how much weight can a roof handle? And should we be concerned about it?
I'll mention it depends. Every roof's different on what it can handle. The solar array, any solar array we put on there is going to be about 25 pounds per attachment point, and overall about 3 pounds per square foot. So it's a lot less than what the snow will add to it.
Okay. Next, how much maintenance is required for these solar cells?
Yes, maintenance is very minimal. You may want to budget for paying somebody to clean off or wash off the panels every 5 to 7 years. That might help your production to get some of that pollen off. That's about it. All the equipment's warranted for performance, that we can check if panels are not producing. we can get those replaced under warranty. So it's very
Right.
minimal maintenance on a residential
Okay.
system.
Do panels increase attic heat?
No, we've seen on one school system we did, it lowered the amount of heat coming through the roof on a metal roof.
So obviously it probably reflected more energy than it absorbed. How do panels handle hail? Is hail a problem with the panels?
They all have a rating for hail. I think the industry standard is a 2-inch hailstone at 150 miles an hour, or is it 50 miles an hour? But they come with a rating that's approved for your normal hailstorm. And any damage that might occur from that will usually be covered under your homeowner insurance policy.
Okay, okay, very good. All right,
We've only seen one panel damaged from when a tornado came through the area. So.
all right. We have, this is from Dana, who's also a food co-op member. We have a 20-year-old roof. Do we need to get a new roof before installing the solar panels? It's 20 years, is obviously getting close to the end of the life cycle for a roof. Should they
Yeah, for a
change the
shingle
roof
roof,
first?
that's getting close to the end of the lifetime of that roof. So we'd recommend you look at getting that replaced. We have some close relationship with roofers in Virginia that we could maybe offer that as part of the package, or give you some good referrals for roofers to work with.
Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Replacement of, how many panels would you expect would be needed for a 1990 square foot home? That's a pretty specific
Yeah.
one. So I guess how many panels per square foot? I guess.
Yeah, it's not answered that way. It doesn't have the usage of electricity is based on what you're doing, how many people live in the house, what they're doing, whether they're older, whether they're younger, if you have a Tesla. So, I mean, there are people that have 3,000 square foot homes and it's a couple and they don't use much juice at all. And then there are, you know, there's a couple with 4 kids and a 1,400 square foot rancher. It's just really dependent on the lifestyles and who's in that home. But one of the things we're going to ask for is a copy of your energy bill. And we're going to be able to take that bill and then be very specific in the questions we're able to answer for you at that time. But we want to see the actual usage that you're doing so we can answer that question better.
Would you design it for a future person coming into the home, or would you sort of an average person, or you would design it specifically for those people?
We'll take into consideration other additions to the home if you're planning on adding an electric vehicle, for example, or adding an addition in the future. We can account for some of those things, but we're basically going to use your power bill and not really think about another family moving in.
Okay.
Yeah, without getting complicated, in order to comply with what you want to do with the power company, with the utility, is you're not allowed to produce above a certain amount of what you've already been consuming. Somebody can't go in with the intention of, I want to put solar panels everywhere and get a check for $1,000 every month. It doesn't work that way. So you actually, if somebody said, we're going to do an addition, or we're going to have another person moving in with us in a year, we would incorporate that plan into the system. And then when the time came, all you would have to do is have the minimal cost of just adding panels. You wouldn't have to do the other stuff as well.
Okay. So here's one, I guess, for Ryan. Okay, our first question from the audience. We have a quote from Convert Solar now, and we're thinking to move forward. I'd love to discuss this with Solarize to determine if we should hold. I'm hoping Convert Solar is one of your approved vendors.
So the way the program is designed, we go through a competitive bidding process each time. So each year we put a campaign on. There may or may not be a different solar installer. It really just depends on which installers are making a bid to be part of the program, and then what their bid looks like. So this year, part of the Solarize Fredericksburg campaign, we only have one installer with AEC, Affordable Energy Concepts. So any other installers aren't technically part of the program. So I would just suggest, if you want another bid through Solarize to compare, one proposal over another, definitely feel free to sign up. Unfortunately, though, the way it's designed, or fortunately, it just kind of depends on how you look at it. The way it's designed in the process of the bidding and everything like that, we only choose, or we have only chosen one contractor this year, which is AEC.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. One person wants to know if the system can be installed on a flat EPDM roof.
Yes, absolutely. We can do it on a flat roof.
Right. But I mean, this is the membrane type roof, so you can still handle it. Okay.
Yes, and those would have a ballasted system where it sits on a pan that's ballasted with cinder blocks, so there's no roof penetrations for the
Okay.
anchors and attachments.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. If you need a roof replacement or repair when you've already got your solar panels installed, what happens then?
When you've already got them installed, we would, or another solar contractor would probably charge to take them down and store them and put them back up. We do about one of those every year, and we price it based on the job and how many panels and how steep the roof is. But you'd probably have to pay somebody to take them down and put them back up.
Okay. Will battery storage be part of the plan or proposal? I think you said it can be part of the proposal.
Yes, we've got some battery options. That's another one where we want to look at what you're needing the batteries for, how much you want to back up, and other things like that.
We found that people that are asking about storage have very individual things they're trying to satisfy. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Tell us in more detail what you specifically are trying to do, and we'll give you an answer.
Okay. Here's one of the questions from me. Is there limits on the amount of net metering that Dominion will permit on its circuits?
Yes, that's based on your power bill and the limit of 20 kilowatts per residential meter. So they're going to look at how much you use and not let you go so far past that.
Right. All right, let's see. Which brand of panels are you using?
The ones we've chosen for the bid are Canadian Solar, and the American made is a Silfab panel. And as long as supply chains allow us to use those, we'll use those brands.
Okay. Are those all silicon? Are they some of them cadmium telluride, or are they all?
They're both monocrystalline silicon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How much wind can roof panels tolerate?
We engineer those to meet local building codes, and our rule of thumb is 125 mile-an-hour winds on the roof-mounted system. Probably more than that on the ground-mounted systems with the concrete.
Here's a very specific question. I want to install this year to a home I'm building. It should be under roof by November. Can you guarantee to get it done by the end of the year?
The answer to that is we can't guarantee it because we don't have control of your builder. But if you met what is written in this email, sure, absolutely we could. If somebody got in on the campaign, signed up, said, I want to do it, and the builder met this timeline, then we would have no problem meeting it as well. But as the question explains, we're kind of beholden to how that plays out.
Right. All right. If you plan on building an addition onto your home in the next few years and your roof may change, I guess what would you do in that particular situation?
The big thing here is just if you know what you're going to build and where on the house it's going to go, it's not going to prevent you moving forward at all doing solar because we just incorporate that into the plan. Now, if your answer was, I'm going to do something, but I haven't really decided what or where,
Right.
That would obviously be a much more difficult situation. But if you said, I'm doing a master bedroom and garage off the backside corner of this house, not a problem. We can certainly deal with that situation.
Okay. Are there payment plans or do you have to pay up front?
We absolutely have financing. It's actually very friendly as far as the consumer goes. We have to make some guarantees to the lender to actually be able to use the program. But just real quick, it's 2.9% simple interest. So it's actually as lower than new home mortgage rates are right now, and it requires no money up front. So absolutely, if you're trying to hold on to your money for some other contingencies or just because of what's going on right now, go with the financing. It's simple interest, no prepayment penalty. You can put no money down, make the payments for a year, and then things settle down and you want to pay it off by all means.
Okay. Does the inverter have an automatic cutoff switch when the grid goes down, or do I have to go and manually disconnect it?
That's automatic. It'll do that automatically by code.
Okay. Do having panels extend or reduce the lifespan of a roof?
Not significantly. They can protect the UV rays from degrading the shingles, but you maybe could get another year or two out of it, but not a lot.
Okay. I have a 40 by 6 southern exposure. How much electricity could I generate and how much is my savings? That's a pretty specific question.
It's specific, but there's still not enough information. I'd need to know the pitch of the roof. Shading can come into play here, whether there are trees that are shading part of it. Do we have vents or a chimney or any other thing on the roof that limits the amount of panels that can be put on it? These are all questions that can be answered very specifically once we pull a satellite image, have a power bill, and have a very short phone conversation. But with that little bit of data, I could begin to tell you.
All right. So again, on the inverter, does the inverter automatically reconnect when the grid goes back up? Because the reason for that is that these people travel a lot and they don't want to be in a situation where, you know, they're not getting electricity to their refrigerator or freezer or something.
Yes, it'll come back on automatically.
Okay.
There may be an occasion if the breaker's tripped and the breaker to the inverter is not on, it has to have that breaker on, but normal circumstances, it will come on.
All right, let's see. I think there's another one up here someplace. How often do you have to clean snow off the panels?
Yeah, Ryan had a good answer to that in the last one, that they are designed that they're a lot more smooth surface than your roof, so the snow will fall off a little faster. We don't recommend you climb up there on the snowy roof and brush them off. It'll melt off eventually and it'll be just fine.
Let's see what else we got here. Rick, with specific questions with your home like that, the installer will have to do analysis. Okay, that's your
Yep, I was
answer.
trying to answer it before you guys did.
Okay. Okay, Megan O'Connor asked, why is the strand inverter not guaranteed for as long as the microinverters?
That is just a standard in the industry. I'm not exactly sure why, but the technology changes a lot faster on the string inverters.
All right. And I think here's the final one, unless some other come in here very shortly. How does the cost of a battery storage system compare to a generator?
Again, in a very broad sense, there's actually not a big difference. We have found in doing the math, the choice of whether you want to have battery backup or a generator doesn't come down to a dollar decision. They shake out about the same. It's what they do for you. Some people are like, if things go so bad that I need backup, I don't want to be trying to get gas or propane, so batteries are the way to go. Other folks, there's a little bit more load capability with the generator, so that's their priority. Again, we've got a very good analysis by asking you questions of which one of those is the best route, and we're happy to price both and let the homeowner decide which one they want. But the real quick answer is there's not a big difference in the cost between those two options, but there are some differences in what it does for you.
Okay. Here's one about the food co-op. What should the food co-op consider while installing our new overcurrent panels in our new space in anticipation of eventually installing panels?
That's a
In
good
other words,
question.
if we can't afford them today, but we want to make sure that we're ready for them in the future.
Yeah, that's another one where we'd want to come look at the site and see what you have now and what you're planning to do, so we could work with you to make that happen in the best way.
But that is definitely something that should be identified at this point. That is the right way to approach it.
Right. All right. Why have batteries if you have net metering?
With a net metering system, The code requirements are that if the power goes out, your solar is not allowed to send power back to the grid. So a regular net metering system does not have the ability to operate unless it can sense the grid voltage. So you would want the batteries to have as a backup for when the power goes down.
Okay. All right. So I think that is all the questions. I don't see any more coming in here. So I want to thank everybody for participating tonight. I guess if you do have other questions, put them on your survey or your form that you're filling out for Ryan when you send that in. If you got any more questions of him, and I'm sure that he will get to the answers for you as soon as he can.
Absolutely.
Oh, I guess there was another. Look at my question 6 above, battery versus generator. Okay. Oh, I think you already answered that, whether it's better to have batteries or a generator. I'm pretty sure generators may be cheaper, but you need a lot more batteries to back up than a generator, right?
We can provide either batteries or generators as well.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, the option's up to the homeowner. We are more than happy to do either one.
All right. So I guess that's about it. I don't know what time it is. I think it's probably pretty close to the ending time. 8:05. Wow, right on time here. So anyway, I want to thank everybody. I certainly want to thank Robert Courtnidge for getting all this stuff together and getting these people together and getting this going. And I certainly want to thank you, Ryan, for hosting this, and the people from AEC for being here to answer all these questions. And like I said, if there's any questions that you have, make sure that Ryan gets them when you fill out your forms, or you can send them to the food co-op and I'll send them on to him later on. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye, gals.
Bye-bye.